welcome to a special edition of my breakdowns. This is going to be very special because it's a fight between. No, I'm busy. Maluma's busy, none. Sorry about that. So it's a fight between a South African and one of my favorite, not one of my very favorite fighter, in Khamzat Chimaev. So there's no way I can be biased in this particular fight. Well, I mean, you can't necessarily blame me for being biased because on one hand, it's one of my like the most incredible fighters, or rather my favorite fighter in the whole entire world. And then on the other hand, we have a South African, the first South African UFC champion, and Dricus Du Plessis. So I'm going to try my very best to do this video justice in as much as possible as I can. I genuinely wish this fight was happening after I had improved my streaming gear and everything like that, but I'll make do with what I have. So let's get to the breakdown. Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Firstly, I've been very successful at predicting Dricus Du Plessis fights since he came onto the UFC, right? Early in his career, I was a little bit doubtful of him, and I don't think I had a channel early when Dricus Du Plessis was making his debut because I think I started, not I think, I started my channel in 2023, right? So at that point, the Dricus Du Plessis had a couple of fights in the UFC. So at that point, I didn't make predictions up until at that particular point, but I picked Dricus Du Plessis to beat that I picked there. I can't remember who I picked between Darren Till and Dricus Du Plessis, but I remember picking Dricus Du Plessis to beat Derek Brunson. I picked the Dricus Du Plessis to beat Robert Whittaker. I picked the Dricus Du Plessis to beat Sean Strickland. I picked the Dricus Du Plessis to beat Israel Adesanya. I picked the Dricus Du Plessis to beat Sean Strickland again. So my pick in this particular fight is not necessarily based off of anything else, except the fact that um, I genuinely think in this particular fight, Hamza Chimaev unfortunately is going to be better. There's this notion that Hamza Chimaev does not have the best cardio, which is in my opinion, one of the most incredibly crazy ideas that exist in MMA today. That Hamza Chimaev does not have the best cardio, right? Because I genuinely do think Hamza Chimaev has one of the best cardios in the UFC currently, right? And maybe you can make the case that, well, in his fight against Kamaru Usman, he wasn't as conditioned in his, and even fights before that with Gilbert Burns and all these type of people. And to that, I say, look at the pace of the fight. For example, in the Gilbert Burns fight, if you look at the conditioning of Gilbert Burns going into that fight, and this is a prime Gilbert Burns, not the current Gilbert Burns. This is the Gilbert Burns that was ranked, I think, number two at the time in the welterweight division, right? And Hamza Chimaev was ranked below the top 10. He went into in there with probably one of the most experienced UFC fighters, and he actually had one of the best fights. I think it won best fight of the year or something like that. So I don't know why people feel like that is evidence that Hamza Chimaev has bad cardio or is not as elite or as dominant. At that point when he was fighting Gilbert Burns, he was fighting him from number, I think he was ranked number 11 or something like that. Gilbert Burns at that point was ranked number 2, right? And Hamza Chimaev went in there, dropped him in the first round, had one of the best striking matches. Okay, maybe not best, like it was a slugfest. It was back and forth. They were dropping each other. So it was one of the most exciting fights that I've ever watched, right? And if you look at the pace, and if you look at Zainura, Dricus Du Plessis defeats Hamza Chimaev, yes. Nah, I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev, man. I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev, and I'm trying to make my point here. So, in summary, I feel like Dricus Du Plessis has been taken down by lesser grapplers. Shoshot McGee, man, I don't know about this fight. Nah, man, Hamza Chimaev takes this one. I'm not gonna lie to you. So let's get to the breakdown. What do you call him? Dricus Du Plessis has a 1 inch reach advantage. Shoshot McGee, I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy. Yeah, I think the feeling. Have you? This is probably going to be my best fight of the year. I don't think I've ever been this excited for any fight in a very long time. Um, I actually don't. I think how I see Hamza Chimaev is probably how people used to see Conor McGregor, or how people see Alex Pereira or Ilia Tuporia. That's how I view Hamza Chimaev. And this is coming from a South African. So actually, let's actually go back to the breakdown. So Dricus Du Plessis has a 1 inch reach advantage, and as far as finishing ability, both of them are pretty much on the same level. Kind of surprisingly, Dricus Du Plessis has a higher finishing rate at 83%. I mean 87%, and then Hamza Chimaev has an 86% finishing rate. I mean it's a difference of 1%, but still, surprising enough, Dricus Du Plessis finishes fights, right? Um, and then when it comes to output, Dricus Du Plessis is gonna be a little bit better with output. I think he's going to be throwing significantly more than Hamza Chimaev. Not significantly, but slightly more than Hamza Chimaev. So Dricus Du Plessis might be a little bit busier on the feet. And then defensively, call me crazy, but I think Hamza Chimaev is a little bit better defensively. I think he's able to avoid getting hit a lot. Obviously, it's because of his wrestling, but still, it's effective enough for him to avoid getting hit. And Kamaru Usman is one of the best strikers in the welterweight division, or rather, boxers in the welterweight division. Has one of the best jabs. He was able to finish Gilbert Burns with a jab. Hamza Chimaev took that fight on short notice, and I don't feel like Hamza Chimaev gets enough credit for taking the fight against Kamaru Usman on short notice. Keep in mind that we're talking, and even leading up to the fight with what do you call him, Joaquin Buckley. I said even when Kamaru Usman declines, he's not gonna decline like everyone else. This is a former pound for pound number one. So even his decline won't be an average decline. He's still going to be good even as he declines in his career, right? So and we saw that against Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley was busy knocking out people like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and Kamaru Usman did what he did to him. Right? A lot of people are saying, "Well, he doesn't have wrestling, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that." But I mean, Joaquin Buckley was having a lot of success, man. He was having a lot of success early, or rather, not early, prior to fighting Kamaru Usman. So that win for Hamza Chimaev, and considering he took it on short notice, a lot of people give credit to Kamaru Usman, and they're like, nah, he took this fight on short notice. Up until that point, the highest level of competition that Hamza Chimaev had faced was Gilbert Burns. And then after that, I think he had fought Kevin Holland, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, before he fought Kamaru Usman, he was preparing for Paulo Costa, and then on short notice he had to fight Kamaru Usman. I think it's kind of crazy, and I will continue to emphasize this. I think it's kind of crazy for people to say that Hamza Chimaev, like to discredit Hamza Chimaev for that win against Kamaru Usman on short notice. He dominated Kamaru Usman, broke his hand in the first round, and still managed to find a way to win. Got a 10-8. I don't think anyone has ever gotten a 10-8 against Kamaru Usman. That proves that Hamza Chimaev is levels above Kamaru Usman. Unfortunately, I think when Kamaru Usman slammed him, he broke his hand, and he still found a way to actually win. I feel like Khamzat Chimaev does not get enough credit for taking that fight on short notice. Everyone is busy saying Kamaru Usman is a G. Kamaru Usman is like amazing for taking that fight on short notice. I genuinely think Khamzat Chimaev should be getting a lot more credit for taking on a former champion, pound for pound number one, who has the second longest win streak in the UFC. I don't know. They don't count John Jones, right? Yeah, I don't think they count John Jones, or because he lost via disqualification, but that's beside the point. Second to Anderson Silva, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's Kamaru Usman, and taking him on short notice, even if he wasn't in camp. Kamaru Usman is a very fit guy. He's always in the gym, so I felt like he wasn't getting enough credit for that. The Robert Whittaker fight, leading up to that particular fight, a lot of people were saying the same things that they're saying right now. Oh, Hamza Chimaev does not have the best cardio. You saw what Robert Whittaker did to Ikram Aliskerov, and Ikram Aliskerov gave Hamza Chimaev problems. So Robert Whittaker would definitely be able to survive the first round, and he will actually destroy him in the second or third. Or if it gets to the fourth round, he's going to destroy him. What happened? What happened? Right? Everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And then after he shattered his teeth, and then excuses came. Oh, it was a pre-existing condition. Sure, it was a pre-existing bargain condition. However, who has done that to Robert Whittaker? Let, let, let's assume like it's true it was a pre-existing condition, but name me one person who's done that to Kamaru Usman. It's similar to what he did to not Robert Whittaker. I mean, it's similar to what he did to Kamaru Usman. Destroy, like, dominating him in the first round. No one has ever done that to him. Like, that was complete dominance and a 10-8 round. And then people made excuses for that. Robert Whittaker, people are making excuses for that. My only question is, who has ever done that to those two top level future Hall of Famer athletes, right? No one except him, right? So I think this fight is gonna be similar. Dricus Du Plessis was taken down by Derek Brunson. He was taken down by Robert Whittaker. I think Darren Till at some point had success with the takedowns, and I'm not going to go too far back because I know that especially um, the Darren Till fight. I think the Darren Till fight. Um, before from the Darren Till fight going backwards, Dricus Du Plessis had an issue with breathing. I think there was an issue with his nose or something like that. That's why it seemed like he gassed out a lot. And leading up to the Robert Whittaker fight, I actually did say that. And even at the beginning of the stream, I've been saying I've been excellent at picking Dricus Du Plessis fights. I picked him to beat Robert Whittaker. I picked him to beat Sean Strickland the first time. I picked him to beat Israel Adesanya. I picked him to beat Sean Strickland again. Right? I've been very good at picking Dricus Du Plessis fights. I just don't think he's going to be able to do it this time. Um, I'm going on a rant. Let me finish it breaking down the fight, and then I'll continue to give my opinion as it goes. So as far as striking goes, I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be very close. Hamza Chimaev definitely has power. Hamza Chimaev has 43%, 43% TKO wins, and Dricus Du Plessis has 39% TKO wins. So the guy who has more, or rather comparatively, who has more TKO wins based on their resume, it's Hamza Chimaev, which is kind of crazy. And the guy with more submissions, surprisingly, it's Dricus Du Plessis, which is interesting. Now, what Habib Nurmagomedov was saying makes a little bit more sense now. Even though I still felt like that, but when you look at the fact that, man, Hamza Chimaev has had success with TKOs as opposed to submissions, right? And I mean, you know what? On the feet, I think it's going to be a close fight. I think it's. I don't want to give either of them a lot of credit, but obviously technique doesn't really matter in this particular fight because Israel Adesanya is more technically better than Dricus Du Plessis. He still lost, but he was winning the striking exchanges. Israel Adesanya was beating up Dricus Du Plessis. I don't know if the UFC have posted that fight, but Dricus Du Plessis was losing to Israel Adesanya. Go back and watch that fight. Israel, up until Dricus Du Plessis found the submission, which is not going to happen against Khamzat Chimaev, I genuinely feel like, and especially because I heard Dricus Du Plessis is preparing himself to be taken down, which sounds like a good thing, but I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would try to not get taken down than to actually work on being safe on the ground against someone who excels there, right? It's kind of like all the people who are saying, I'm not going to take Alex Pereira down, I'm going to strike with him. That's kind of stupid. Why wouldn't you take the fight to the ground? Right? So I'm not saying Dricus Du Plessis is stupid for doing this. It's probably the only way to survive on the ground with Khamzat Chimaev is by accepting that this guy, plus Khamzat Chimaev has one of the best takedown entries. I don't even think Habib Nurmagomedov comes close with his entries. Khamzat Chimaev gets takedowns in such a way that is untelegraphed. Like it's incredible to watch. Even how he took, and he can shoot from a distance and still have success, right? So maybe it's a smart plan to say, you know what, this guy is actually good at taking people down. Why don't we just focus on getting up as opposed to focusing on trying to not get taken down? Probably maybe that's a good strategy. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But when I look at the Kevin Holland fight, a lot of people were calling me crazy for that. But I feel like Kevin Holland did really good defensively on the ground. I think he lost it. Kevin Holland lost it a lot longer than a lot of people's lost it. Even Robert Whittaker, as far as the grappling exchanges. Hamza Chimaev, like the scrambles from Kevin Holland in that particular fight, were actually really good, right? So I don't know. As far as the grappling, though, obviously Hamza Chimaev is going to be significantly better. Dricus Du Plessis does not have the takedown defense to avoid getting taken down. Probably that's why his plan is to just let Hamza Chimaev take him down and just work on getting up, right? Um, Man, I don't know. I don't think Hamza Chimaev is going. I mean, I don't think Dricus Du Plessis has a shot on the ground. Contrary to what a lot of people think, I think no matter what Dricus Du Plessis did to prepare for this fight, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to compare to the years of experience that Hamza Chimaev has. It's kind of like saying, I'm fighting Alex Pereira, I'm going to have a kickboxing camp and you expect to beat him, right? Magomed Ankalaev is primarily a striker. That's why he had success against Alex Pereira. He's been doing it for a very long time, right? So, but for me, let's say Hamza Chimaev goes into a fight and he's like, okay, I'm fighting Alex Pereira. I'm going to have a 6 month camp to actually strike with Alex Pereira. What do you think is going to happen? It's not going to end well. Maybe Hamza Chimaev has decent striking, but if the fight purely stays on the feet, he's going to probably lose, right? Because even with 6 months in camp, it's kind of like what Erin Blanchfield did against Manon Fiorot, right? She went into camp, trained for striking, and lost. Bilal Mohammed did the same thing. Went into camp, trained for striking, and lost. Right? You can't go into camp. It doesn't matter. Maybe if you have maybe like 2 3 years to prepare for that person, probably you might make some type of a difference. But if you've had like a couple of months, even if like anything less than a year for me, I don't feel like you're going to be able to have enough time to put yourself in the same level because some things are muscle memories. Like some things you cannot teach. It's something that you do because you've been doing it for such a long period of time that it's become second nature to you. It's not necessarily that you are purely using skill. It's skill combined with experience, combined with muscle memory. Like so, Dricus Du Plessis will be. It's got the best way to explain what I'm trying to say is, imagine someone who has been dancing all their lives, never went to dance school or anything like that, versus someone who went to dance school. You can see them when when they are dancing, or rather, at least I can. You can tell that okay, this guy was taught in dance school how to dance, versus this guy is it's something that he's been doing for all his life. It's something that is embedded in you. The movement or how he fights, it feels almost second nature to him, right? So I don't feel like the amount of time that Dricus Du Plessis has had to prepare for the scrambles on the ground is going to be enough to actually survive against Khamzat Chimaev on the ground. It's similar to what Charles Oliveira was trying to do against Ilia Tuporia. He was like, nah, I can actually strike with him. So, and then we saw what happened. The best strategy for him was to maybe take the fight to the ground and keep it there for a while. It's similar to Aman Sarukian going in there and saying, I'm going to strike with Ilia Tuporia. You're gonna get knocked out, dude. Like, you're gonna get knocked out. Do what you're good at. In this particular fight, I don't know, man. I think on the feet it might be competitive, so I slightly disagree with Habib Nurmagomedov. I think Hamza Chimaev should just shoot. Dricus Du Plessis does not have the best takedown defense. I'm not even going to say it does not have the best takedown defense. It's borderline bad. Dricus Du Plessis has borderline bad takedown defense. And because of that, I think Hamza Chimaev should shoot immediately, especially because when you listen to what Dricus Du Plessis' camp has been saying, they are preparing to be on the ground, to be on their back. And historically, jiu-jitsu guys don't do well against wrestlers, right? I know Dricus Du Plessis is not a jiu-jitsu guy. What I'm saying is being on your back and trying to find submissions against someone like Hamza Chimaev is not going to end well for Dricus Du Plessis because it sounds like that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to either find submissions or try to be offensive from their back and then use that to try and get up. I don't think it's gonna work out as incredibly as they think it's going to, but we'll see how it goes. Dricus Du Plessis has one of the worst takedown defenses in middleweight right now. He's been fighting people who ordinarily don't take you down. Derek Brunson is a horrible wrestler, and he still was able to take him down a little bit. Even though Dricus Du Plessis was able to stand up, Derek Brunson was able to take him down. Right? It was a little bit more competitive. That fight was a bit competitive, in my opinion. Right? Even though Dricus Du Plessis was able to finish, it was still a little bit more competitive up until Brunson ran out of gas. I think both of them were tired in that particular fight, but it was still a bit competitive, which I didn't like. But that's an old fight. I think I will count the fights for Dricus Du Plessis after the surgery, which is Robert Whittaker. From Robert Whittaker, I think that's the real Dricus Du Plessis. And to be fair to Dricus Du Plessis, he has been improving. It's not like he's been stagnant and staying at one place. So, in summary, the concerns that a lot of people have is Hamza Chimaev's cardio. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I said this in the Robert Whittaker fight. I think the way Hamza Chimaev was fighting Robert Whittaker, he was using more skill than force. Whereas in previous fights, Hamza Chimaev used to use a lot of muscle. Like, for example, lifting Li Jinglian, taking him to Dana White, and then submitting him there. That was brute force. Even in his scrambling, or rather in his wrestling exchanges in the past, he used to use muscle in conjunction with skill. Like, it wasn't just muscle, it was also skill. But he was using a lot of muscle, which is why it seemed like he had bad cardio when he actually didn't. He was just using his skills in the wrong way. I feel like in his preparation for Robert Whittaker, Khamzat Chimaev became probably invincible. I genuinely believe if that fight went to the third round, Khamzat Chimaev would have still done that to Robert Whittaker. He would have smothered him. You see how Khamzat Chimaev was fighting Kamaru Usman. I sincerely believe that if that fight with Robert Whittaker had went to the third round, that's how he would be fighting. The way Hamza Chimaev 10-8'd Kamaru Usman is how I truly believe Hamza Chimaev would have been able to fight throughout the entire fight. Right? A lot of people are saying he doesn't have a lot of cardio. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked in this particular fight. I see a lot of people say, "Oh, I mean, if Hamza Chimaev doesn't finish in the first 2 rounds, then it's over. Dricus Du Plessis is going to win." Dricus Du Plessis was losing to Israel Adesanya. Let's not lie to ourselves. You don't have to listen to me. Go watch that fight. Dricus was being pissed up. Dricus was slowing down. He looked a bit gassed. His takedowns were very sloppy. Even Dricus himself said Israel Adesanya is the hardest opponent he's ever faced. He almost lost that fight. If Israel Adesanya didn't get submitted there, which is honestly a crazy statement to make. But still, if he didn't get submitted there, he would have won that fight. I'm pretty confident in that. And this is coming from someone who picked Dricus Du Plessis to beat Israel Adesanya, right? I genuinely do believe that if Israel Adesanya, it wouldn't have gotten to a decision. Israel Adesanya would have been able to TKO him. Right. I picked Israel Dricus Du Plessis, by the way. I need to emphasize that because a lot of people will be like, yeah, it's because you picked Israel. No, I picked Dricus Du Plessis. Like I said, I've been very good at picking Dricus Du Plessis fights. So far, I haven't been wrong. Since I've started making predictions, I've gotten every single Dricus Du Plessis fight correct. I don't think he's going to win this fight, man. When you consider the fact that I think the cardio issue for Hamza Chimaev is a false narrative. And to be honest, I hope this fight goes to the third round, just so that people can stop this thing of saying Hamza Chimaev has bad cardio. I think if Dricus Du Plessis survives, Hamza Chimaev is going to smother him. Like he's going to smother him. And if Dricus Du Plessis, if Hamza Chimaev gets tired at some point, Dricus Du Plessis will be tired as well. I can guarantee you that. If at some point Hamza Chimaev gets tired, Dricus Du Plessis will be tired as well. So cardio, I think that's a notion. I don't think that exists. Hamza Chimaev doesn't have like the worst cardio. I'm willing to bet that Hamza Chimaev has better cardio than Dricus Du Plessis. Call me crazy, but let's see if the fight gets to the third round or fourth round. I'll be here. If you don't know, I do watch alongs on the channel. You feel free to join me and tell me if I was wrong. If this fight goes to the fourth round, I think Hamza Chimaev will be the fresher fighter. Believe me, and I don't think it's going to get to the fourth round. In all honesty, unless if Hamza Chimaev changes how he fights, if Hamza somehow changes how he approaches fights, maybe potentially it might go to the fourth round. But if Hamza Chimaev fights the way he normally fights, maybe Dricus Du Plessis survives the first round. I don't know. I doubt, especially if Hamza Chimaev puts on the flurry that he put on against Kamaru Usman. If he does that, Dricus is not surviving that. And even if Dricus gets past the first round, I don't think it gets out of the second round. To be honest, um, we probably will never know if Hamza Chimaev has cardio issues or not, because at this point, there's not gonna be a better wrestler than Hamza Chimaev. I don't see a better wrestler. The only path to victory against Hamza Chimaev is to knock him out, and I don't see anyone doing it. I don't see Nassoudine Mavov doing it. I don't see Caio Baralho doing it. I don't see Anthony Hernandez, RDR. I don't see anyone. At some point, I thought Bo Nickel would be a bit of a challenge, but it seems like his wrestling is overrated. So I generally don't see anyone doing anything to this guy. I think Khamzat Chimaev will probably lose his belt if he somehow gets sick or gets old. Hopefully he's active so that we can see him fight a lot more. But yeah, that's my prediction. My subscribers and I are going with Hamza Chimaev. I genuinely don't think it's going to get to a decision. I think Khamzat Chimaev finishes this in the first or second round. And even if it goes to a decision, I think Khamzat Chimaev will be putting on one of he will be putting on a clinic. I can guarantee you that anyone who says Hamza Chimaev has cardio issues probably also believed that Paulo Costa would give Hamza Chimaev problems. Hamza Chimaev does not have cardio issues. When I saw Hamza Chimaev, even before, that's why I kept on emphasizing every time I break down Hamza Chimaev fights, I keep on emphasizing to people, go back and watch the training video for Gilbert Burns when he was preparing for Hamza Chimaev. Go back and watch that training video. That shows you how well conditioned Gilbert Burns was. And even with that kind of conditioning, Gilbert Burns was still tired as well in the third round in that particular fight. And Hamza Chimaev still won, still dropped him in the first round. So that's why I'm like, Hamza Chimaev has never had bad cardio. He just didn't manage his cardio the right way, and that's why and in most cases, like, what he does is he dumps everything and then tries to recover in the second round. That's how he normally fights. Dump dump energy in the first round, recover in the second round, and then start to maybe get back the round in the third round. Normally that's how he used to fight. Since he fought Robert Whittaker, he was training at elevation. He got like Olympians to train with, which I feel like he made so many different changes that I feel like he was significantly better in the fight with Robert Whittaker. I think Gamza Chimaev is going to shock a lot of people. A lot of people are not going to be happy after this particular fight. I I am pretty confident, and this is coming from a South African. This is coming from the guy who's been picking Dricus Du Plessis to win in almost all of his fights. For as long as I've been predicting Dricus Du Plessis fights, I've gotten them right. Like, I've never predicted a Dricus Du Plessis fight wrong so far. And I don't think this is the first time I'm going to stop being right about. So no one should be like I'm hating or whatever the case is because he didn't want to give me an interview. No one should say that because I've been very successful at predicting Dricus Du Plessis fights. I've been very successful at predicting his fights. I've been correct. I've never gotten a Dricus Du Plessis fight wrong, right? So you can't say, "Oh, no, I'm not using my logic," or whatever you want, whatever the criticism is, and you can't say it's favoritism, or you can't say I'm being biased because I'm South African. Logically, even in the past, a part of me has been picking Dricus Du Plessis. A part of me is like, because he's South African. There's still that part of me that's like, "Ish," a part of me wants him to win so that the belt stays in South Africa. Privith, what up, man? I'll respond to everyone. Once I'm done, I'm almost done. So you can't say I'm biased. I'm South African, right? There's a part of me that wants the belt to stay in South Africa. That's going to be massive legacy. If Dricus Du Plessis somehow manages to beat Hamza Chimaev, it's going to do big things for South Africa. It might potentially even force Dana White to actually bring the UFC to South Africa, right? So you can't say I'm biased or whatever. Ricky Tedesco comes at Chimaev by decision. Shout out Tedesco. Tedesco actually is likes to troll me. Shout out to you, man. Um, so so you can't say I'm biased, even though I love Hamza Chimaev and I'm a big fan of him. I've been very successful at predicting both of them, predicting Hamza Chimaev fights and I'm predicting Dricus Du Plessis fight. Maybe predicting Hamza Chimaev has been a lot easier for a lot of people because a lot of people have had He's had a lot of hype, but I think people started to doubt him after the Gilbert Burns fight and after the Kamaru Usman fight. And I still, when he was fighting Robert Whittaker, when everyone was doubting him, I was here saying Khamzat Chimaev is my most confident pick. People were like, "You're crazy, dude. Look at what he did to Ikram. Look at how Khamzat Chimaev did against Ikram." They were busy doing MMA mats. Like, look at Hamza's performance against Ikram, and then look at Robert Whittaker's performance against Ikram. Robert Whittaker is going to destroy Khamzat Chimaev. I was like, I don't think what you guys are saying makes a lot of sense. Khamzat Chimaev is my most confident pick. I'm not gonna say that here, but I'm pretty confident Khamzat Chimaev wins this one. Right? I do respect Dricus Du Plessis' fighting ability. It might not be the most technical. It's still one of the best. Or rather, he's still one of the best middleweights in recent memory. Um, with that being said, and in conclusion, I think Khamzat Chimaev submits him in the first or second round. No cardio issues whatsoever. If the fight stays on the feet, it might be a little bit more competitive. I'm not leaning towards anyone in particular. I feel like Khamzat Chimaev is better defensively. I feel like Dricus Du Plessis is better offensively. I think both of them have the ability to knock you out. Look at what Khamzat Chimaev did to Gerald Mearshart. Look at what Khamzat Chimaev did to Gilbert Burns in the first round. He was able to drop him, so he has the power. He has that one punch knockout power. He's been hanging around with Ilya Tuporia. He's been grappling with people like Aman Sarukian, who I think is the closest thing to Islam Makhachev as far as grappling goes. So I think Khamzat Chimaev, even on the feet, is a problem. So I'm not going to give either of them an advantage because I think offensively, Dricus is going to be better. He will have a bit of a volume advantage. He's going to have a I don't know. I mean, a 1 inch reach advantage is not that massive, but it still probably might play a factor in how the fight plays out. Defensively, I think Khamzat Chimaev is a little bit better. On the ground, I think it's going to be night and day. Dricus Du Plessis has horrible defense. Um, People that shouldn't be taking you down have taken down Dricus Du Plessis, unfortunately. And if that's the case, Khamzat Chimaev is going to have a field day with Dricus Du Plessis. So far, Dricus Du Plessis' success has been mixing up everything. Dricus Du Plessis wins because if you look at his opponents, a lot of the time he mixes it up, right? He doesn't win with just one thing, except maybe when he was fighting Sean Strickland most recently. He looked very improved. The striking looked very improved. But still, normally Dricus Du Plessis wins because he mixes everything really well. Like when he's fighting a striker, he mixes in the wrestling. When he's fighting a wrestler, he probably. But I don't think he's fought like a really good wrestler. And he, even though he hasn't fought a really good wrestler, he doesn't have the best takedown defense, man. I don't like how easy it is to take Dricus Du Plessis down. So on the ground, I don't think Dricus Du Plessis has had enough time to deal with the scrambles of Khamzat Chimaev on the ground. I think the fight will go to the ground. I don't think Dricus Du Plessis is going to be able to survive. I think Hamza is going to be too good. He's going to be relentless. Dricus Du Plessis camp call Hamza Chimaev a one-trick pony, right? Remember what Bruce Lee said. Bruce Lee once said, "I'm not afraid of the guy who knows a thousand punches or 1,000 moves. He's afraid of the guy who has practiced one. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but he said something to this effect. I'm not afraid of the guy who knows 1,000 moves. I'm afraid of the guy who has practiced one move 1,000 times." So if someone has practiced one thing 1,000 times, the result is Habib Nurmagomedov and Hamza Chimaev, right? So calling someone a one-trick pony is kind of dumb, in my opinion. because you are basically saying they are experts at that thing. So even if you try to prepare for what they can do, you probably won't be able to, because in your words, they are one trick ponies. And because they are one trick ponies, they are probably exceptional at that one thing. So the likelihood of you somehow succeeding against them at that one thing that you are saying they are only good at is very slim, because that's all they know. Hamza, what do you call him? Habib Nurmagomedov. Everyone knew what he was going to do in the fight, and no one could do anything against him, right? Everyone is going to have their opinion. It's fine, but calling Khamzat Chimaev a one-trick pony, I think, is kind of dumb in a sense, because what you are essentially saying is he's an expert in that one field, right? So how are you going to prepare for an expert? Like in 8 months, how do you prepare for an expert in 8 months? So that's how I view it. You can call him a one trick pony. What I hear is he's an expert at that particular thing, and you are not going to outdo an expert in 8 months. Someone who's been doing who's exceptional at what they do, you are not going to outdo them in 8 months. You can prepare for 8 months and do whatever you can, but since you are calling them a one trick pony, it means they are experts at what they are doing. So how are you going to prepare for an expert, right? So I don't think Dricus Du Plessis is going to survive on the ground, man. And the one thing is for sure, this fight is going to go to the ground. It's not a question of if or whether or not it's going to happen. So your best bet. I've seen a lot of people saying, if Dricus Du Plessis or if Khamzat Chimaev cannot finish this fight in the first round, he's cooked. They said the same thing against the Dricus Robert Whittaker. He doesn't have to get to a decision. I don't think the cardio thing is like a real thing, but I still don't feel like he has to get to a decision. To be honest, he doesn't have to. Like he can still get. We can see Hamza, especially at middleweight. Middleweight does not have the best competition. To be honest, we might see Hamza Chimaev going through his career without ever getting to a decision ever again. It's highly possible with the level of competition at middleweight, right? So yeah, that's my take. Let me actually respond to you guys so that I can bounce. Oh man. Um Shot McGee, I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy. Man, there's something about Hamza Chimaev when he fights, man. Oof. I described it during the watch along. I described it as that ride. I don't know what it's called. It goes up, it goes up, it goes up, and then it stops at the top, and then nosedives very quickly. Every time Hamza Chimaev fights, I feel like I'm at that particular point before it nosedives. So that's how I feel, and I genuinely can't wait for that one. Um, Zainura, Chimaev loses UFC 319. No, that's not gonna happen. Shot McGee, this and Ilya fight was all I've been waiting for all year. For me personally, I haven't gotten that excited yet about Ilya Tuporia. There's only one fighter who gives me goosebumps, and that's Hamza Chimaev, man. Um, Shot McGee, Chimaev early, DDP late. I truly don't know what way it'll go. Nah, even late, I think Hamza Chimaev still wins. Whether it's decision or finish, I think Hamza Chimaev wins. Elijah Youngblood Pizarro, DDP, nah, I disagree. S3, Kanye West from Temu. Okay. I mean, I'm still Kanye West. I mean, I'm still a billionaire. Even if I'm from Temu, probably I'm a millionaire if I'm from Temu. So that's not the insult you think it is. Vizzy 420. I love DDP, but I'm sorry, he's losing to Hamzat. Hamzat is insane. I agree. Privith, yo, what's good? What up, man? DDP is getting swept. I agree, my guy. Ricky Tedesco, Hamza Chimaev by decision, 100%. But I think it's going to be round one or round two finish. Privith, Hamza is winning this. I don't know what are people on about. Yeah, there are people who still believe that he's going to lose. We'll see though. The chicken. You have to admit though that the DDP has better striking than Hamza. I disagree. That's why on the feet I didn't give the advantage to anyone. DDP is better offensively. Khamzat Chimaev is better defensively. So, and as far as TKO ability and power, I think both of them have that one shot that can put you out. So I disagree with Habib saying Hamza Chimaev should wrestle. I don't think it's a good idea for Hamza Chimaev. I think he should just shoot immediately. Don't even waste time. Shoot for your life. Don't waste time. Privith, how are people sucking DDP off? He ain't winning, dude. Don't be like that, man. It's like it's still South Africa. There's still a small part of me that's like, man, I hope the belt stays in South Africa. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Hamza Chimaev is going to win, and he's going to win dominantly. And a lot of people are going to be mad because I think a lot of people don't like Hamza Chimaev. They they want to see him lose. All right. He's very exciting and it irritates them. If Kobe Covington fought the way Hamza Chimaev fights, oh my god, they would be saying he's the greatest of all time. But yeah, because it's Hamza, he is insufferable for some reason. But yeah, that's my pick. Privith, nah, bro, I love DDP, but he's not winning. Yeah, I 100% agree. Whether it's finish or decision, Hamza Chimaev takes this one. Um, Man, I wish I could speak about this fight a lot longer. Probably I might make a special dedicated video just to speak about this particular fight a little bit more. But this concludes the breakdown. I appreciate you guys for joining me. I have two more fights to go. I'm going to take a 5 minute break before I break down the next two fights. If you want to join me, subscribe and then click on the notification so that you know when I go live. Don't forget to join the watch along. So from the prelims or the early prelims up until the main card, they are flipping amazing. Ask Privith. Ask Privith is one of the people who are always on the watch along. So don't forget to join me live. I love and appreciate all of you. Until in a couple of minutes, I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Deuces.